Good morning, all of you. Now, today, in continuation with the same chapter, The Rise of Nationalism in Europe, we will do the last topic here, nationalism and imperialism. But before doing that, let's have a quick recap of the chapter. I already told you this is a very important chapter. There is so much to learn here and so much to remember. All right, so let's start from the beginning. I hope all of you have books in your hand. Do you have?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so we'll start from the first page. With what we began the chapter? I want to know. Yes, hurry up.
Ma'am, we began with the picture which was made by Frederic Sorio, a French artist.
Okay, then could you tell me something about it? Who will tell me about what the picture showed? What was so special about it that it is there? You have your books in your hand, still you can't answer? Class 10th?
Ma'am, it had a series of four prints, and in which the first print shows the people of Europe and America, men, women of all ages and social classes, uh, offering homage to Statue of Liberty as they pass by it.
Okay, all right. All right, and we also had a look about nation state. All right, that this feeling of nationalism emerged, and the people now wanted, in place of multi dynastic empires, now people wanted to have nation states. All right, where they were sovereign in their geographical boundary and having a central administrative system. The people there joined together by history, descent, ancestry, all right, or culture. So that was a nation state. Then we came to the French Revolution and the idea of the nation. Okay, and we saw that the first expression of nationalism, it came with the French Revolution, and how from the very beginning the French nationalists, they talk about various measures and means to bring about this sense of collective unity among the people. So they talked about la patrie, that is the fatherland, and the citizen means no madam and monsieur, and then a new national flag, national assembly, and all that. And we also saw, read about the Napoleonic Code or the Civil Code of 1804, that how it did away with feudalism and serfdom, and it also gave certain freedoms to the people. It simplified the administrative divisions and abolished the feudal system. Then the guild restrictions from the towns, they were removed. Transportation communication system, they got better, and the businessmen, peasants, and traders now found a new liberty, new freedom to carry on with their businesses. So businessmen and small scale producers of good, now they were very happy that now they had standardized law and weights and measures. Then we also had a look at how uh, the people, they reacted to how the people in the French colonies, they reacted to Napoleon and his armies coming in. So we had a look at so many things, that how in the beginning they were welcomed, but later on they were seen as invading or intruding forces. And so how in the areas that were conquered by Napoleon, the people had a mixed reaction. So we saw that also. And then we had a look that Germany or Italy, as we know them of now, they did not existed as proper nation states, but they were broken into so many kingdoms and duchies and cantons and small regions. And we also had a look at the Habsburg Empire, that it that ruled over Austria and Hungary, that it it was a patchwork of so many different regions and people speaking so many different languages belonging to so many different geographical regions. They lived there, so we had a look at that also. Then we also had a look at the new middle classes, that how they came into being. And then we had a look, as we went on, we had a look at liberal nationalism and what it meant in economic terms and social terms. So we had a look at that. Then we also studied about the creation or the establishment of Zollverein. Then we studied about the new conservatism after 1815, and we studied about the Treaty of Vienna, and and how the changes which were brought about under Napoleon, uh, this Treaty of Vienna, it was established so that all the changes that were done under Napoleon, they could be changed again and brought back to their usual self. And we also saw that how the conservative regimes which was formed after 1815, what was their nature, that they were autocratic, they did not like dissent, and they did not tolerate criticism at all, and they had very strict censorship laws also. So we had a look at that also. Then we had a look at Mazzini as a revolutionary. Then we had a look at the age of revolutions, that is from 1830 to 1848. And we also had a look at the Greek War of Independence, and that through the Treaty of Constantinople in 1832, Greek was recognized as an independent nation. Then we had a look that this feeling of oneness or nationalism, it was not only brought about by wars, but it was also a result of romanticism, and that how culture, language, it came, it had a big place in this feeling of nationalism which came in the hearts and minds of the people. Then we had a look at how the years of 1830s were of great economic hardship, and the people, they had to face so many problems. The population all around Europe, it increased, and then as a result there were more seekers of job than employment opportunities available. People from the rural areas, they also came in and settled in the cities, wanting to get some work. And then with industrialization, there was so much competition in the cities also. And because the other parts of Europe, they were still not mechanized, and but whereas in England we have already factories working up, so we saw that also. And then we saw that how peasants and weavers, they revolted in various places. We also had a look at the Frankfurt Parliament, and how it was a failure. And finally, we had a look at how Germany, it was united. Then we also had a look at the unification of Italy. So the unification of Germany. Okay, who was the main person who engineered all this unification of Germany? What was the name of the person? Come on, class 10th, hurry up. Yes, class 10th A, don't sleep. Tell me, who was the main person? What's wrong with you all?
Mom, what's the question? I didn't get that. Your voice is cracking that cut.
Alright, I asked that who was the main person who engineered the unification of Germany? The main person. What
Mom,
was?
of Germany?
Yes, Germany.
Ma'am, Otto von
Alright, so why you took so much time in answering that? Is my voice not clear?
Ma'am, it's cracking a bit.
Alright, maybe network issues. Now is it better? Are you able to hear me? All right. Okay, so Bismarck, He was the chief minister there, and he was the main person who engineered this unification of Germany. All right. Which people helped in the unification of Italy? Italy. Yes, come on. Italy. Unification of Italy. Turn the page you just have.
Chief Mazzini.
Okay, Mazzini.
Ma'am, it is Giuseppe Mazzini.
Okay, beta. It's okay. So Mazzini, he helped. He also set up the secret society. What was the name of the secret society that he set up in Italy?
Young Italy.
Young Italy.
Young Italy.
All right. So he was a person, and he was always talking about nation states and all that. But uh, during 1830s, he tried to put together a program for the unification of Italy. But the uprisings in 1831 and 1848 both were a failure. So later on, who led this whole job forward, this unification of Italy? Yes, come on. His name is mentioned. He is a very important person.
Ma'am,
Beta,
Sardiana.
beta, that was a part. Sardinia Piedmont. Now that was one of the 7 states into which Italy was divided. All right, during the middle of the 19th century, and only out of these 7 states, only
King Victor Emmanuel too.
wait. All right, so only one state out of these 7 states, only one state was ruled by an Italian prince, and that was Sardinia Piedmont. So the responsibility, after the failed attempts of 1831 and 1848, it fell on Sardinia Piedmont to unify Italy. All right, so now, which was the person who was neither a revolutionary nor a democrat, who led this unification process?
Chief Minister Cavour.
Ma'am, Chief Minister.
All right.
Cavour.
Okay, so Cavour, he led this movement on, and he had a diplomatic alliance with France, and with the help of France, they were successful in defeating the Austrian forces in 1859. Then there was one more person who helped. He has his own volunteers, armed volunteers who helped. Who was that person?
Ma'am, give it.
Yes, Garibaldi. All right, right. So Garibaldi, he was a military general, an Italian general, and he was a politician. So he was helped, and there were large number of armed volunteers under his leadership, which helped. And so in 1864, Victor Emmanuel II, he was proclaimed as the king of, who is this? King of United Italy. And beta, switch off your mic. Okay, and but what we did, that the level of illiteracy was so much in Italy at that time, that the people who helped, the peasants who helped fight this war, they even did not know what La Italia was all about, and they did not know that they were talking about the nationalists. The people were talking about the state of Italy, or the nation state of Italy. They thought that these people were fighting for Victor Emmanuel's wife. Then we also had a look at the unification of Britain, and how Scotland, Ireland, they were forcibly incorporated in the United Kingdom. And then finally, we also had a look at how the nation states, they were portrayed during the 18th and the 19th century. So we had a look at Germania and Marianne. All right, Marianne, which country?
From France.
And Germania, obviously, as the name suggests, of Germany. All right, and if you turn the page 24, see, meaning of the symbols is given here. So, like broken chains, it signifies being free. Then the breastplate with eagle, the symbol of the German Empire, that is their strength. Crown of oak leaves, heroism. Sword shows your readiness to fight. Olive branch around the sword, that was willingness to make peace. Then black, red and gold tricolor, that was the flag of the liberal nationalists in 1848, which was banned by the dukes of the German states. And then rays of the rising sun, they show the beginning of a new era. And like I told you before also, you cannot leave even these illustrations, the pictures and what is mentioned under that, like this picture on page 25, the German sword, it protects the German Rhine. They could simply give you a picture and ask you what it represents, like the picture on page 27 also, that they could ask give you this picture and they could ask you questions on this. So you should know what is given under this particular illustration, that what are the different things in this picture or this illustration, what they signify. So you need to know that also. And now let's come to nationalism and imperialism, the last topic here. Now by the last quarter of the 19th century, now nationalism, earlier when it began, it was about ideals, proper idealistic view about liberalism, about freedom, about democracy during the first half of the century. But during the second half, it became a narrow creed, means a narrow belief, and they wanted limited ends or limited goals. Now during this period, the nationalist groups, people who were vying for the establishment of nation states in their country, they became intolerant of each other and they were always ready to go and fight each other at war. Now the major European powers, now they also took advantage of this fact, and they manipulated the aspirations of the subject people, the people who were under their control or who were under the control of different multi-dynastic empires. So the European powers, they manipulated the aspirations of the subject people, the people who wanted to get freedom, and they did this so that they can further their own aims. They wanted to have larger empires, they wanted to defeat other nations and extend their boundaries, extend their empire. So the major European powers, they manipulated the aspirations of the subject people. Now the most serious source of tension, of nationalist tension in Europe after 1871 was the area called the Balkans. Now Balkan was a region of so many variation, means it was not a plain simple geographical area, it was a region of geographical variation also as well as ethnic variation. And see, it comprised of modern day, means today, Romania, Bulgaria, Albania, Greece, Macedonia, Croatia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Slovenia, Serbia and Montenegro. And so it comprised, it was a huge empire comprised of so many present day countries. And now the people living in these areas, they were called as the Slavs. Now a large part of the Balkans was under the control of the Ottoman Empire. We have already seen that it was a Turkish or Muslim empire based in present day Turkey. So now during this time, what happened, the people, they were talking about nationalism, love for the nation and the creation of a nation states. And so this, along with the disintegration, means by this time the Ottoman Empire was not such a strong empire and it was on the verge of breaking up, of disintegration. So the spread of the nationalist ideas along with the disintegration of the Ottoman Empire, all these things combined together made this region very explosive, very violent. And now all through the 19th century, the Ottoman Empire, they had tried to strengthen their empire by bringing out new policies and laws and reforms, but they did not have much success in that. And as a result, what happened, one by one, the European subject nations, they broke away from the Ottoman Empire and they declared their independence. Now the people who were living in Balkan region, they claimed that they have a right for independence. Why? Because they said that they have a history to prove that they were always not under the control of any other nation, and once they had been free, but they had been subjugated or brought under control by other powers. And so these Balkan people, they thought that their struggle was just, their struggle to get independence was just an attempt to win back what they already had once long back ago. They were always not under the control of other kings. They had been independent and now they are struggling just to regain their independence. Now, so the nationalities, there were so many people living under the these Slavs, so many people who were living under the Balkan area. So now they were struggling to get their identity and their independence. So because of all this struggle and conflict and fight, the Balkan region, it became an area of intense conflict. There was so much conflict going on around this area. And now one more problem was that these Balkan states, they were very jealous, envious of each other, and they each wanted to have a bigger empire and get it on the cost of others. Means they wanted that they will be able to get some more land, more territory out of the others, and they can have dominance over the other nations. So the Balkan states, very jealous, envious of each other, and they wanted to get more territory at the expense of others. Now matters already were very complicated, but they were complicated more because Balkan also became a scene of the big European power rivalry. Now, during this time, colonialism, now it was a trend, and so these big huge European powers, they went about establishing their colonies and trading centers all over the world, and they wanted to show their naval power also. And so these rivalries, basically they wanted to have a control, make more colonies in other nations, and have more control over trade. So the way all these rivalries, they were evident in the way that that this whole problem in the Balkan region unfolded. Now what happened, these European superpowers like Russia, Germany, England, and the Austro-Hungarian Empire, now what they wanted to have their power over the Balkans, and they wanted to extend their control over the area. So each of these superpowers of Europe, they wanted to have a greater part, all right, a greater part of control over these Balkan region, and this led to a series of wars in this region, and finally it led to the First World War. So nationalism,
And I can ask you a question. Now,
yeah,
what is naval?
navy beta,
No, ma'am. It is written here. Balkans wanted their naval.
naval, naval is navy forces. Our army is, our military is divided into three parts.
Yes, ma'am.
What are those three parts?
Ma'am, air force and the force.
No, police is not that. No. It is the army, air force, and the navy.
Okay, ma'am.
Alright, army, it fights on land, air force, air, and naval on the seas, the navy forces. Alright.
Yes, ma'am.
So that were the naval forces. Means because at that time, obviously, fighting through ships and all, it was more in trend. And the trading companies, they all, most of the trade also went on through seas. and so they wanted to show that they had more power over the seas, the naval power, more power over the seas, the ships, and huge and strong ships with their people ready to fight on the ships also. So that is what their naval power is. And so now, nationalism aligned with imperialism. Now imperialism is basically trying to expand control over other countries through colonization or through the use of military force, that is through outright wars. So nationalism along with imperialism, it led to disaster in Europe in 1914. That is the year when the First World War began in Europe. But meanwhile, many countries in the world which had been colonized by the European powers in the 19th century, they began to oppose the domination of their masters. Like the same thing happened in India also. We were also under the control of the Britishers. So we also started having this fight against our imperial masters, and these anti-imperial movements that developed in the other countries of the world, they were nationalist, means in the sense that they all had this love for the nation and they wanted the creation of the nation states in place of the multi-dynastic empires. And now they were inspired by a sense of collective unity, that the people, they had been living together, they shared a common history, a common culture. And now this was also done in confrontation, means with wars. The first thing, if you remember class 8, the first thing that brought the people together in India were their common enemy in the form of Britishers. Earlier in India also, people were fighting. There were so many we have the northern kingdoms, the southern kingdoms, and in north also we have so many dynasties and kings ruling. The same thing in south also, and most of the people, these kings, were fighting against each other all the time. And for the first time under the Britishers, the first thing that brought the people together was their common enemy in the form of the Britishers. So that this same thing happened in other countries of the world also, that the confrontation with imperialism, with their imperial masters, brought the people together elsewhere in the world also. But the European ideas of nationalism, they were not used, they were not copied in any other place. Why? Because in all the other places, the people, they developed their own ideas of nationalism. But the fact and the ideas that the societies, they should be organized into nation states, now that came to be accepted as natural and universal in place of the multi-dynastic empires that we earlier used to have. So that was it. That was the chapter. Have you all understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So हाँ बेटा. All right. Sure, my dear. All right. So, we are talking about nation states, and basically, like I told you, if you see on page 4 also, you see here that the definition of a modern state is given. See, modern state basically meant a centralized power over a sovereign body, over a clearly defined territory. Now that was modern state. Nowadays we have basically modern state. Now what that meant, that we have a centralized administrative system. We are sovereign, we are free to rule in our territory without any pressure or any external force. And then also that we have a clearly defined territory over which the people rule. Like for example, India, if you take, so we have a clearly defined boundary, we have a central administrative system, and we are not under the control of any country. But to add more into it, to make a nation state, a modern state into a nation state, now nation state had one thing more in it, and that is that not only the people have a proper geographical area to rule over and a sovereign state and a central administration system, but in addition to that, the people who are living in that area, they also have something to bind them together. Now it could be a common descent, common history, common culture, common traditions, all right, and which the people had in common since a long time back. And so basically what we could say is that a nation state was one in which most of the citizens, they had a sense of something in common, and that could be, like I told you, a shared history or a shared descent or a shared culture. So like in simple words, a proper geographical boundary, all right, a sovereign state, then central administrative system, and the people living there binded together by a common history or a common culture. So that is what a nation state is about. But you know, at that time, the countries, they did not exist as proper nation states, and the countries were broken up, and different parts of the countries were ruled by different kings, different rulers, and different dynasties. So that is why at that time the people were fighting for the creation of nation states. Anything else? Beta, your voice is not clear. I am not able to hear. You can do one thing, you can post the question on the group also, because right now as soon as you are speaking, it is the voice is very shaky. I'm not able to clearly get it. All right, and now tomorrow I will be giving you questions. Any other question, anyone here?
You said you will tell us
No, ma'am.
tomorrow exam.
Yes, but are you ready? Because it is already past time your class. If you're ready, I can tell today, or I could tell tomorrow also.
I'm tomorrow.
Okay, then
From tomorrow.
all right, tomorrow when I'll give you the questions, then I will tell you how the exam would be conducted. Okay, all right, all of you. So that would be all for today.